I don't plan this to be a very intricate one. Now these ones you're supposed to apply onto these big ones. This is a fuel tank, but you're supposed to apply it onto these ones. Reason for that being that this is supposed to add coolant to the engines, because note these engines can overheat, thus exploding on you, which sucks when you finally get it around and then just have it explode. It's pretty fun to watch, though. Nose cone. Note the weight ratio of this is probably going to cause it to crash and burn. Now, I think this game initially was created to kind of an educational one. I'm not entirely sure. I could be wrong. But what I think it was meant to do was to have kids get excited about space and everything. I think that's what they said on one of the developers' actual videos. Oh crap. Gotta lower that a bit. Apply nose cones to those. It's really all trial and error stuff to figure out what exactly you need to do in order to get this thing to apply. Thank you. Bad. No. Yeah. Now what these are booster rockets. They're solid fuel ones. Once they, unlike in like say these two thrusters, you can which are liquid fuel. Yeah, something's not right here. What's wrong with this thing? Okay. Which can overheat and explode. However, with solid fuel rockets like these ones, you can... They'll eventually just burn out. You can't turn them off or anything like, say, the other kinds of boosters. I feel like this thing's gonna be too top heavy. Anyway. Let's apply struts to this. Now, note, struts are just to keep the thing from wobbling about. So, it doesn't just fly off in your face. Like, it's not... To keep it from, like, turning automatically. Which can be a pain in the butt. Because once you hit the, SAS, I think it's called, button, it's supposed to allow it to stabilize it in flight. so that won't happen. However, if you don't have struts on your ship, it could literally mean the difference between getting up into space and this thing suddenly taking a 180-degree loop so that it's pointing towards the ground. Which is funny to watch, but yeah. What am I missing? Yeah, so what this is supposed to do, at least, what my rocket here is supposed to do is to launch right off that, where my mouse cursor is, and get into space with little to no difficulty. Now let's talk about this little bar, these little things here. What these are your stages. This is what makes the stuff break off or jettison during flight. This is very important. Stop it. If you don't have these things designed right, your rocket might not even get off the launch pad. Like, for example, when you launch, what these things are supposed to help keep it stable while it's on the launch pad. That way it doesn't just suddenly hit the ground and explode. Yeah, so it's just to keep it from hitting the ground while it's trying to, before you even put up the booster rocket, the rockets on. Okay. Another thing you can do in this game is actually get on different planets. Like I'll show you once we're on the launch pad. Yes. Now, what these guys are Kerman. They're basically your avatars, or from what I understand, they don't really do much about the actual flight of the ship, as far as I know. I think there's going to be an update. Now, note, this game, from what I've read about it, is actually still it's a game that I like to call a beta game, where it's never actually fully released. They just keep adding on to it, add on to it, add on to it. They'll release a beta and just keep adding on to it. That's what I understand about the game. Which, I really like that about the game. Now, what are these stats here? Now, from what I've read, it's they are supposed to affect the flight of the rocket. Yet I have no idea exactly how. All I know is that once you're on the launch pad, these little boxes show up right here. These this bar here, your stages bar, will show up on here. I'll actually show you that in a minute instead of talking about it. Yeah, I should have done. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, should have put struts on the thing. Now, see, this is the box I was talking about. This is basically your pilot. This Kerman here, this Frankenstein-looking guy. Kind of reminds me of the minions in Despicable Me. Yeah, so they got these two buttons up here, which is IVA and EVA. Now, what these two buttons does, IVA lets you actually view a virtual cockpit, which I would show you, however, I don't know exactly how to get out of it. Now, EVA, your Kerman will actually pop out right there. You can actually control the Kerman. Okay. Want to watch me epically fail? Full thrusters. SAS. Activated. Launch. Now, you see what I mean? This is what can happen. Aww. I have the sound turned off, so